smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarret Patton.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Dr. Jarret Patton, and I'm happy that you guys are joining us for another episode of Licensed to Live. This is one of my favorite episodes because what I do in this particular episode is do a recap of the top 5 episodes of 2020. And we know 2020 handed us a lot of curveballs. And as we are turning into a new year, we're making sure that, hey, 2020 is left behind. We're continuing to move forward and do amazing things. And I'm here to help you do that this year in 2020. Now, how do I find the most popular episodes? Well, people ask me this quite often because I don't want to make it scientific. I don't want to turn this into the Grammys. It's not even an award. It's simply based on downloads. I take a raw count of downloads for each of the episodes, basically from November 2019 through November 2020. And I use that as the cutoff just so the November and December episodes get their fair share of listening time. And we just pick it by raw numbers. And this year we had 5 clear standouts, but there were a couple of new there was really a very close tie for 6. Within 2 votes, there were 3 episodes, and I think they're worth mentioning because they were all very fun interviews. The first of which is when we spoke with Dr. Pamela Wibble. We spoke about the physician suicide epidemic and how that's affected so many people, not only during the pandemic, but even before. So that was a wonderful episode that we had some time to chat and talk. We also had in that tie for 6th place, Dr. Cyntrell Crawford. She talked about her journey from psychiatrist to filmmaker, and we talked about her making of Us versus the Plant, which is a film about medical cannabis, and basically an effort to destigmatize the plant. And finally, in that tie for 6 was Mike Logan, Super Bowl champ and former Pittsburgh Steeler Mike Logan, where he came on the show just talking about setting goals from the young age of 6 years old to being able to become a Super Bowl champion. So we're talking about big time wins for a lot of people. And because those 3 tied for 6 and were just within 2 votes, I figured I'd mention them. So now we're going to go to the 5th most popular episode. So most popular number 5, bringing value to the table with Tom Davis. We spoke with Dr. Tom Davis during this episode, who is always trying to drop value bombs to the table. And we talked on a wide variety of topics, including the abuses that were going on for docs and other healthcare workers within the system and within the pandemic, and how ill-equipped the system was able to handle some of the initial problems with the pandemic. But he wanted to make sure that people understood their own value and their own worth within this situation.
When you are doing business consulting inside a captured industry like healthcare, value is actually generated by the relationships among the senior leadership and the board members with their payers and with each other. I mean, there's a great deal of back scratching, non-financial quid pro quos and blatant payoffs that go on, which actually generate more quote unquote value for the organization than anything operational that I can instill. And although I did very well, that was very disillusioning, especially when the doors were closed. And being a business consultant who's also a doctor, I was kind of left as a fly on the wall, and seeing the behavior and the attitudes of the senior leaders of the health systems and the like towards their frontline troops was jaw-dropping, even for a man of my massive cynicism. I was stunned at the complete and total lack of consideration and the business plan, basically to work their clinicians to death until they can be discarded.
Fourth most popular episode is This Is Not What I Signed Up For. It was a solo episode in which I was exclaiming a lot of things that I've heard from a lot of people on the front lines, how things were so disruptive or maybe unsafe in the beginning of the pandemic when we were scrambling to try to figure out what is going on because we simply weren't prepared as a system. And we talked a lot about leadership and leadership decisions from the C-suite and how they can be isolated from what's really going on in the front line, which was largely magnified during the pandemic until we got better grips on what was going on. And in this quote, we talk about what goes on in these fast-paced environments in which we have to make decisions and we have to do something. Take a listen.
In a fast-paced crisis, decisions must be made quickly, and they may not seem the best thing initially or even in retrospect. We can see something similar play out in Washington right now with the daily updates of things. Things that were fact yesterday may be untrue today. We have to keep on rolling. Right now, the sky is falling, and the C-suite and accompanying board members may not be prepared for this type of germ warfare, if you would. Never would anyone want their most important resource, the staff, to work in unsafe conditions or be without PPE. However, the COVID-19 situation is unprecedented, and the message may come from the C-suite as we must hunker down and take care of patients. As the staff gets sick, there are less people to help in the fight, which necessitates longer hours or perhaps using homemade PPE as supplies have run out. Although individual systems had different levels of emergency preparedness during this emergency, and the government is trying to do what they can do to help the situation, this battle on the front lines of healthcare is real, and you may be stuck right in the middle of it.
And with our third most popular episode, hey, guess what? The coronavirus pandemic continued to dominate the discussion. And in this case, we were talking about it in the form of distractions and how to keep distractions from distracting you. So I'll set up these next couple of clips that, one, address where distractions come from and how we get distracted. And number two, what can you do to get yourself on track so that you're not distracted anymore? Simple advice, but honestly, we had so many distractions in 2020. We don't need distractions like that for 2021. So let's keep it moving. Take a listen to what I had to say here.
This coronavirus, it is easy to get distracted by the constant discussion of this topic or any topic that seems to be highly talked about. It starts to play on your psyche. Is my nose running? Am I getting sick? Do I have coronavirus? Does my neighbor? You may become overwhelmed. Now that many people have it across the country, you may start to wonder where it will go next by analyzing the flight patterns in and out of Seattle, for instance. Next thing you know, you start looking up on the internet how many virions are in COVID-19. Then the next thing you know, 3 hours of your life has been wasted. Well, yeah, coronavirus is important. We do have to take swift and decisive action. We must come up with a game plan, yes. but all the worry and anxiety that is occurring can be a side effect of our distractions. Now, I just use coronavirus as the example here. You can insert politics or sports or the market woes instead of coronavirus, and it all works. There are plenty of things to keep you being distracted. If you become distracted, here's something that you can do. Acknowledge that something is distracting. Yes, acknowledge that something is distracting. This will allow your mind to see that thing, whatever it is, that your brain has been desperately trying to ignore. Once you recognize the presence, then you can forget it, or you have to address it, or you can just put it away for another time. You might have to stand up, take a deep breath, take a walk, maybe a run, maybe some of your other tried and true reframing tactics, but take a look at your daily or weekly planner. And if you don't keep a daily or weekly planner, you can get your official License to Live daily focused task planner by simply texting Dr. Jarret to 44222. That's DOCTOR JARRET to 44222. You need that visual to get you on task, and that will keep you up to date with what you're supposed to be doing day after day, just in case you get distracted. So it's a great exercise to do every week as you're laying out your week, figuring out where you have to go, how many people you have to save, what you're rushing off to next. However, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging a distraction. Simply don't let it constantly distract you.
With our second most popular episode, it was about Licensed to Live the conference. Now, I originally put this episode out there as just part of my promotional material for the conference. However, realizing that there weren't a whole lot of conferences going on in the middle of 2020, I realized that people were really looking for information and knowledge. And yes, I talked about how I was nervous about taking on this challenge. I never put on a conference before. I talk about my struggles to convince myself to get going. And I talked about a lot of the hosts and guests. So there were lots of clips to choose from. I'm just going to give you a tiny snippet of what we talked about in this episode because it was really about the conference. And I encourage all of you to go back and take a look at the conference. You can actually see the replay of the conference at licensedtolive.com. And you can get the conference, take a look at the replay. We had a great variety of speakers that were really there to engage and help you get started. So take a listen to this clip and then go to licensedtolive.com.
First off, people have been asking why I decided to host a conference. I won't lie, this is something that I never thought of and I never thought I would do just a few short years ago. At best, I thought I would just continue to travel around the country speaking on stages and conference after conference, spreading my message one stage at a time. I really love to speak in front of live audiences, so why didn't I think that my future would actually contain a conference of my very own, in which other people can share their voices? In the beginning, I was a bunch of nerves thinking about the idea. Who am I to do something like this? I've never done something like this before. I'm scared. What if nobody comes? I had a variety of emotions surrounding this decision, and I was dragging my feet initially. This was me stepping into uncharted waters. I'm a first-timer. I had to push myself to move forward. I pulled my team together and said, this is what we will do. We are going to host a conference. Some members were live within my office. Others were on Zoom. I wasn't sure what their response would be, but it surprised me. They were so excited about the opportunity. They were like, it's about time. And they were ready to make this become a reality. That made me excited, and I was ready to go. There was even one response from a staff member that said, when can we do a pediatric conference? I said, whoa, I had to slow down on that one. But their enthusiasm was infectious. That led me to determine that a one-day conference would be perfect.
However, what would be the approach? What would people learn? Which one of my super friends would be available? We worked feverishly on the program, thinking of bigger and better ideas every single day. And just like coronavirus dominated our year and is continuing to dominate as we cross into 2021, it's no doubt that there are so many coronavirus topics on the top 5 list. And the number one episode for the year 2020 was about the coronavirus pandemic. There are many ways to battle COVID-19. And in this episode, I really did give a list of several ways you could help in the pandemic, even if you weren't on the front line. Some of us felt left out during this period and said, well, I can't impact those ERs or those surge hospitals or maybe even being in the ICUs. But I still wanted to use some of my knowledge as a doctor in order to help people in this pandemic. And I give a few suggestions as we heard right here. Number 1, help disseminate real information with people and help debunk the myths that are circulating. There is lots of misinformation on social media, and you can help by being on social media or helping telephonically to help people understand the facts as we know them today. Perhaps you can write a letter to the editor in your local paper to shed further light on the situation that people are having difficulty. Personally, I have been broadcasting my Facebook live streams from my @Dr. Jarret page. You know you can find me on social media everywhere, @Dr. Jarret. Spell out the word doctor, J-A, 2 R's, E, 1 T. But I've been talking about COVID-19 to my followers there, which are mainly parents who watch my show 2 Cents Tuesday. There's a lot of misinformation out there. Let's do our part to help clean some of it up. Number 2, consider making a donation. There are many different charities and local funds being set up across the nation, knowing that we are in for many changes, unknowing of the lingering effects. Now, realize that this donation doesn't have to be monetary. I mean, even the blood banks are in dire need of donations. So go seek out your local blood bank and donate a pint of blood. If nothing else, make some sort of donation to the community. Number 3, sign up for a telehealth company. There are many telehealth companies that may want your help. In fact, if you're looking at the link in the bio, you can get a $100 bonus right now just for credentialing with a company. If you tell them that I sent you there, Dr. Jarret Patton. Well, that's a wrap up of our top 5 episodes of 2020. I would like to thank all of you for your support, for your listening. Special shout out to our sponsors, EH3 Coffee. We really are pleased to be delivering this show, and I can't wait to get these new episodes out that I already have saved up for you guys in 2021. We have some great guests that we have interviews. We have a lot of single topics that we have to address. We are ready. We are preparing. And hey, we just want to help people live better lives, live that through transitioning and changing in your career and just getting simple habits that will keep you healthy, safe, and happy through this new year. So thanks again for all of you guys listening. And remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been disengaged, dissatisfied, disgruntled, disenfranchised with their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast player and subscribe to Licensed to Live. And if you have more feedback, you have questions, you have topics you want addressed on the show, send them to me. I make it easy for you to do that all the time. And if you want to see me live and in person and have a special situation in which you want to talk about, hey, just sign up, make an appointment with me at timewithdrjarret.com. And until then, I'll see you on LinkedIn. I'll see you in the places I hang, and we'll get you the next episode out shortly. See you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarret's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.